Welcome to Read This, Author's Corner. I am your host, Alice Maria, and today I am so excited to have with me author Hartford Dawson, the author of The Apple and the Stone, his debut novel. Welcome, Hartford. Welcome, Hartford. It's so wonderful to have you on Read This. I can't wait to talk to you about your book. But before we jump into the details of your book, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself with the audience?
Hi, Alice. It's a pleasure to be here on your show.
Pleasure
I
having you.
am, thank you. I am originally from Jamaica, and I migrated here when I was 19 years old, young age of 19, to New York City. It was tough. I just want to say this. It was very tough at first. I experienced hunger for the first time in my life. I had a rough 6 months living on a concrete floor. However, and at that time, I had friends who were selling drugs who laughed at me, like, why wouldn't you be? I'm like, no, I've never seen my dad do that. And so I faced a lot of obstacles early on, but I've been able to, with God's help, of course, rise above it. I am now a professor, college professor. I also work for a Fortune 500 company for the past 29 years. And I've written a book, and that's why I'm here.
Well, congratulations on your debut book.
Thank you.
Coming out as #1 on Amazon bestseller. What
Yes.
an amazing feat to have for your first book. How does that feel?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful. And it shows me that hard work does pay off and faith does pay off, and that we should never give up on ourselves. You know, I remember as a kid in grade six, I was failing my math lessons, my math exams, and my teacher at the time told me that I had a concrete brain. She was also my godmother, so all good. I get it. We should never give up on ourselves, and I'm glad I never gave up on me.
Well, I'm glad you never gave up on you too. So you wrote a book, and it's combining two very interesting subjects, technology and Apple, Steve Jobs, and the
Mhm.
Bible with David and Goliath. That is an interesting combination to put together as a book. So tell us about how the name came about and how did you birth that concept?
Yeah, so I also lead a nonprofit, Love Without Walls. At the time, I was just 2 years into building a children's hospital in Suhum, Ghana, Africa. And I hit a financial obstacle. I needed money, and a lot of large companies turned me down. I never even responded to my request. And I was told off the record, well, it's not in America, it's in Africa, etc. And I needed to be able to generate funds to build this hospital. And I had just read Steve Jobs' autobiography by Walter Isaacson. And when I read it, I started reading it. I started to get some ideas of the Apple. And once I read all 630 pages, I believe, I realized that there were 12 specific strategies in Steve Jobs' life that he used to go from having no money, from Apple being at the edge of bankruptcy, to Apple to becoming a global titan. And he used these 12 strategies, and it hit me. David used these 12 strategies as well when Saul told him he could not defeat Goliath. He was not qualified enough. He didn't have the wherewithal to conquer Goliath. And I realized that David used the same 12 strategies, or should I say, Steve Jobs used the same 12 strategies that David used 3,000 years earlier. And I said, oh my goodness, these are timeless strategies. And I said, okay, I need to write a book so that everyday people now can use these 12 timeless strategies to conquer the Goliaths that they face in life, because we all face Goliaths. I faced so many Goliaths and still do, but I'm confident in these 12 strategies. So Steve Jobs at Apple, David with the stone, and I just heard in my head the apple and the stone. I was like, okay, that's it.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that was it.
That was a wonderful connection. It's amazing how our brains work, how
Yeah,
we get divine inspiration for
yeah.
things. So you came up, you saw in reading Steve Jobs' story and your knowledge of the Bible, you found 12 strategies that that is universal,
Yes.
and you created this book. And so we don't want to give the book away.
Okay.
So we just want to give people a little tasting of what's in the book and some of the different strategies. So what I quite often like to do is just explore titles, because some titles are, titles of chapters. Some of them are kind of self-explanatory. You hear them, you're like, okay, I can figure out what that's
Mm-hmm.
about. Or, might not be exactly what you're saying, but you have a ballpark
Yeah.
about what the idea is. And then there are others that you're like, okay, what does that mean? It gives you a pause. And those are the things that I like to pull out. The things that okay, what was he thinking when he came up with this name?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to just go through some of the strategies by
Sure.
name. We're not
Okay.
going to go through all of them. But I'm going to start at the beginning, because the first strategy is the upside down obstacle. So can you just give me a little bit about how that title came into being?
Yeah, sure. So that title came into being with David.
Okay.
Saul, who was the CEO, if you will, of the Israelite army, the captain of the army, saw Goliath and he saw an obstacle, and it caused fear in him immediately. Then all the soldiers became fearful as well, and they all ran from Goliath. They saw the obstacle and they ran from Goliath. The very first time David sees Goliath, he doesn't see an obstacle, he sees an opportunity. His first question is, what shall be given to the man who will kill this uncircumcised Philistine and take away the reproach from Israel? So he saw the opportunity when the trained soldiers saw an obstacle. See opportunities in every obstacle. Steve Jobs was facing, Apple was on the brink of bankruptcy. There were some who told him it would never work. People like Michael Dell of Dell Computers, Bill Gates. They told him to shut down Apple, sell it off. But Steve Jobs saw the opportunity in that. And because he saw the opportunity in the midst of the obstacles, so many of us have iPhones today. And Apple is one of the largest or most well known brands globally. So the upside down obstacle is how we perceive it. The obstacle, let's find the opportunity in our obstacles and we'll be okay.
Okay, I love that. I get that. It reminds me. I think it's Think and Grow Rich. It says limitation is the mother of invention.
Okay. Yes,
So your obstacle is your opportunity to grow, to figure things out. Okay,
absolutely.
excellent.
Absolutely.
I see that. That's beautiful. Um, then the other one is I'm going to jump to the closed ear. That is an interesting title.
The closed ear is admonishing us to have selective hearing. We hear news, people's opinion, we see and read social media posts, we listen to songs, we hear just so many different things every day or every hour. And if we are to ingest or to take in some of them, it will turn our lives upside down. So we have to be able to close our ears to something. Steve Jobs was told, listen, you cannot do this iPhone. Doesn't make sense. You cannot do it. But he closed his ears to that. And he said, no, I can do it. Saul told David, listen, Goliath has been a man of war from he was a youth. In other words, before you were born, David, Goliath was a man of war. He's been fighting before you were born. How dare you think that you can go fight him and beat him when me, the army captain, and all my soldiers are fearful? But David closed his ear to that. And I just point out that Goliath was seen by everybody in that time. Steve Jobs was publicly fired. Everybody saw Apple's Goliath, his Goliath. But what about the Goliaths that people don't see that we struggle with? We know Goliaths that we struggle with that others may not see. And we hear voices, internal voices as well, telling us we're not good enough, we're not tall enough, we're not skinny enough, we're not young enough, we can't do this. But we have to get to the point where we say no to that. We're not going to listen to that. We're not going to listen to words that's going to limit us and try to put us in this prison, mental prison. And the only way to really succeed, in my opinion, in life and to push forward is to silence the voice. And we silence the voices by not taking heed to them.
Okay.
To the fullest there. Yeah.
I see that, I hear that, and I appreciate that. And the voices, especially the personal voices, I
Yeah.
always take I always like to share this just because I think most people, when I share it with them, they say, oh, wow, I didn't think about it this way, and it's helpful. There's I don't know, a personal development person, and he talks about the ants, right? The automatic negative thoughts that comes into your head. And I just feel like ants are such a great metaphor for the thoughts, because they can be as plentiful as ants, you know.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
So being able to rein in those ants, those automatic negative thoughts, close your ears to your own voices. That's a very important thing to be able to do. So that is a tremendous strategy. So the next strategy, let's talk about the overturned stone.
The overturned stone. Finish what you started. The overturned stone. See what else is there to see.
Oh.
I remember many years ago, I was in Jamaica. I was in St. Mary, a place called Long Road. My girlfriend and I at the time, now my wife. And some young guys wanted to take us to the river. So we went to the river and they showed me how to get prawns. We had to put our hands under the stone. Just looking on the stone, we would not know that there were prawns underneath the stone. So there are times when we have to see more than a stone. We have to get under the stone to get what we want. So we have to overturn the stone. We have to keep looking and searching and developing and learning and growing and never stop. So we need to overturn all our stones, look under them.
So you're going for that Rastafarian thing. Like you don't want to understand. You don't want to be under. You want to be over.
Yeah,
You want
I
to
want
overstand.
to overstand. Yeah.
Got it. The head on fight. That's a strong title. You're not backing down.
No, the head on fight. Have you ever seen two boxers fighting and never look at each other?
No, they're facing each other.
Right.
They're going on at it.
We cannot confront what we do not face.
Okay.
We can ignore the issues, but the issues are not going away. Saul's Goliath didn't go away. David had to do a head-on fight. He had to run towards his Goliath. While Saul, the qualified soldier, an army captain, ran away, David ran towards Goliath, had to confront it, right? So did Steve Jobs. He could have ran away. I mean, at one point he stated he was disappointed or devastated when he was publicly fired from Apple, but he stayed the course. Even though he was fired, he was down for a little bit, then he came back. And yeah, we have to fight in life, and we know this. If we have uh, issues in life or things that we're finding hard to deal with, we have to face them. We cannot, I think Bob Marley, right? You're running and you're running and running, but you can't run away from yourself. We have to face, and whether the pain, the hurt, the things that are uncomfortable, we have to face them. I have children, I have 3 sons, and every now and again, daddy hang out with his boys, and we have to confront some things, because if we don't, before we know it, our small Goliaths will become big Goliaths and we run from them. And I just add this right here. Goliath, the Goliath that David saw was already a huge person, a big Goliath. But let me also say that 30 years prior or 40 years prior, and prior to that, he was a smaller Goliath, but his name was still Goliath. So we have to confront, it's better to confront our Goliaths when they're small before they become unmanageable. However, if we have missed the mark, we still can conquer our Goliath.
Okay, that's an excellent point, and I love how you're tying the two stories together, and the strategies are so clear. How you're connecting them. So I really appreciate you walking us through the truth value.
Why do we do things? Or why should we do things? David fought Goliath. His first reason for fighting Goliath is that he would take away this giant who was insulting his God, take away the reproach from Israel. He didn't do it for himself. He did it for others. He gave the value to others. David wasn't fighting his own Goliath, if you will. He was fighting Saul and the army's Goliath. And he gave value not only to the Israelites, who would not become slaves to the Philistine if he won, but also David's family. His family would no longer have to pay taxes, and he came from a poor family. I mean, in addition, he was going to get Saul's daughter as wife as well, but he created value for others. Steve Jobs said he didn't just make products or innovate and manufacture products that were just going to make money. He wanted to change lives. He wanted to give value to others. And I think it's so important with all areas of our lives that we shouldn't be me, myself, and I. We need to, whatever we do, we should give value to others as well. Because sometimes even our Goliath is not about us. It's for others as well. Sometimes we have to help others fight as well. Yeah. Versus saying, oh, that's not my issue, bro. I mean, that's not my issue. No. We're all our brothers and sisters, keepers, in my opinion. And whatever we do, we must have that clear goal that is not only about me, it's about my children, it's about my future, it's about my health, how we eat and what we intake, what we think about, etc. So we create value for others initially, or as well as ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I honestly believe social media has deceived a lot of people into being me. I can do it. I don't need anyone. And we're falling away from what community. I like to use the example that for me, especially for people of color, where our voices are not always heard, right?
Yeah.
That this social media has gotten people to think they could stand in the woods and scream and somebody could hear that one voice, instead of understanding, if I'm in the woods and you're in the woods and we time this and we all scream together, all of us, if we all
I
yell for
like that
help, we'll make more of an impact and more, and
together.
the
Yeah.
likelihood of us being heard. And one of the pillars of Kwanzaa is unity,
Yeah.
unity and community. And I genuinely believe that it's very important to get back to each one teach one, each one reach one, because that's the only way we all make it through this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
So in you writing this book and in you putting this together, what would be the thing that you would want the audience to know, to take away from reading your book?
Many look at David as a biblical hero. Many look at Steve Jobs as a technological hero or a hero of innovation. I want everyone to know that there is a hero in you as well. There is a hero in you, and never give up on yourself, never give up on your dreams. And when you see obstacles, don't fear, relax, and look for the opportunity inside your obstacles. Have MRI vision. There are some details that MRI will catch that an X-ray won't. So work towards getting X-ray vision and you'll be fine. Just keep pushing forward. Don't give up regardless of the challenges, the struggles in life. Doesn't matter how big your Goliath is, you can conquer your Goliath.
Excellent, excellent. Is there anything that you wanted to share that we haven't covered in our conversation?
I knew you were going to ask that. And I didn't think about it before.
Not a problem. I think we covered
Yes.
mostly everything there was. But there is something that
Okay.
you touched on that we didn't get into conversation about. Now, you
Okay.
said you were building a hospital.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that? That's a big project.
Sure. So in 2014, I went to Ghana on a missionary trip. Even before that, I was doing trips in Jamaica, helped to build like a bathroom here or here for somebody, like in the poor areas. So in 2014, I went to Ghana, visit the children's hospital, and I saw the children like screaming. My heart tore apart, broke. I saw like two, three children on a bed, some on the floor. They were so many children, and in the small room, I couldn't even say a word, and they were just screaming. And I remember asking the nurse there, the head nurse, like, how can I help? Like, what could be done? And she mentioned, we need more medical equipment. They didn't have any. I mean, some children in America, no, some animals in this country in America live better than some of these children in Africa. My heart broke. And I remember saying to myself, if I had $1 million, I would build them a hospital wing. Didn't have it then, still don't have it now. And I left Ghana and it really was on my heart. After 15, 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, it kind of subsided. And I was back to my regular life with my family working. And I got seriously sick during the Ebola crisis, 2014. Was transferred to Winthrop University Hospital on Long Island. First, I was told without evidence because I couldn't, I had issues breathing. I had fever, etc., etc. I was told a doctor came in, asked my wife if she could excuse herself from the room. It was a doctor and three, a main doctor who was the head of disease control at Winthrop. And she told me she was pretty sure what was wrong with me. She told me she was pretty sure it was HIV. So I had to had a whole night through that thinking of that. And the following day, I was told, no, it's not HIV, it's malaria. But one night I was there, I was on oxygen for 3 consecutive days. I had a mask on my face. I couldn't breathe without it. And the Thursday night, I remember just jumping up, sitting up in bed. The mask fell off. And then I heard these words that my sickness was not unto death, that I needed to be sick to become sick so I could feel the pain of the children in Sahum, Ghana, and that I would build them a hospital facility. And I just bawled, Alice. I bawled. I said, God, okay, whatever you want me to do. Fast forward, I had my laptop there. I heard from an organization, lovewithoutwalls.org. I looked it up. It was available. I purchased it. We did fundraising and going through the years, slowly but surely. And then I mentioned, and I faced that obstacle, financial obstacle. That's why the book is here. And I'm happy to say that the hospital is set to open in March of 2026.
Well, congratulations
Yes.
for your obedience, right? First of all, for the obedience, because people get assignments and get callings and they don't listen. So thanks for your obedience. And I'm so happy to hear that your perseverance and your dedication is blessing others. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your talent with me. Your book has so much richness. And the fact that you connected something from centuries ago to something so modern as the technology that we use is quitely divinely connected. It's so I thank you again for being obedient to that vision. And I look forward to working with you again and seeing what your next book will be about.
All right, thank you so much, Alice. Thank you for your time, and blessings to you as well in all that you do.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
I would like to thank my special guest, Hartford Dawson, for his wonderful conversation about his debut novel, The Apple and the Stone. Please go out and pick up a copy. This has been Read This, Author's Corner. I am your host, Alice Maria. Keep reading, keep growing, and stay empowered.